Hi, welcome to the Black TV Show podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Temeskin.
Welcome back. We are on the last episode for season 1. So today's episode is episode 24, The Cosby Show season 1, episode 24, Cliff's birthday. This episode aired May 8th, 1985. And if you remember correctly from the episode Father's Day, we found out Cliff's birthday is in October, but this episode aired in May. So there is a continuity error again. The thing is with birthdays, that's probably the most common continuity error on television, and I feel like the famous show that does a bad job with making birthdays at the right time, of the year and the right ages is the show Friends. They are known for that. And it's just like, you should always, I feel like when you're building these characters, you should also include their birthdays so that, when you're making these episodes, they can revolve with the actual birthday. Because in real life, we don't change birthdays month to month, So just to let you know, there is a continuity error in this episode. So we start off at a venue, and it's Claire, Rudy, and Vanessa, and Rudy plays the piano, and Claire was like, stop it, like, this is the reason why we don't even have a piano at home, and Claire is embarrassed, and we meet this guy named Clarence Thornhill. I think he's, like, the person that, owns the event, or the venue, and organizes things. He's, like, probably an event planner, and he mentions that, like, so Claire wrote a letter, I guess, to this venue, and Thornhill had it, and he gave it to Lena Horne, who was performing at this venue, and she loved it and said that the whole family can sit at her personal table because how much she likes that letter. And Claire was like, oh, that's great, that's, you didn't need to do that, like, we could have sat anywhere else, and especially that may not be good because Cliff is a huge fan of Lena Horne and might try to touch her, boundaries right there. You don't want the boundaries to be broken. And so Thornhill mentions, like, I don't understand why you guys even came here. We could have organized all these arrangements over the phone. And Claire was like, we cannot do that. If you know my husband, he will, question, integrate. I can't say that word properly, sorry. And, try to figure out what his gift is for his birthday. So they had to meet in person. Because if she was on the phone, he might sneak up and listen to the phone from, like, another phone, because back then home phones, or even I guess now home phones, they're all connected. So she's like, there was no possible way. And so Claire was like, you know what? We should do something. We should pretend that we're making a huge dinner for him for his birthday. Let him find out about it. And then we should bring in pizza. And Vanessa suggested putting mushrooms because he hates it. And Claire was like, yeah, good idea. And so then we get to the living room and we see Cliff is looking around to see where his birthday gifts, because he thinks that his birthday gifts might be hiding up in a fire chimney, which is weird. And we see Claire, Vanessa, and Rudy come home, and Cliff was like, oh, you guys are a little late coming from school. And they're like, we were stuck in traffic. And they're like, he was like, at this hour? Because you could see outside it's kind of dark, so it's like definitely a few hours since school has been let out. So he's like, oh, okay. And he's trying to get an answer out of Rudy and Vanessa, and they're like, no, it's just traffic, and they end up going up to their room. Cliff was like, oh, okay, well, clearly you guys were late because you were looking for my birthday gift. And Cliff was mentioning, the joy of finding out about presents before you get the presents is the best thing. And that statement is kind of not necessarily true. You'd rather be surprised and be happy in the moment than to, like, know what is coming, because sometimes if you know when things are coming, sometimes it's not up to your expectations. It's just, not a good idea to know what your present is ahead of time. And so then Cliff goes into the kitchen, and we see Denise is writing. And Cliff is like, "Oh, you're writing for my birthday?" And she's like, "No, this is for the school choir." And she reads out the poem, or I don't even know if this is a song. The way she says it sounds like when she talks, it's like a poem, not a song. But so the lyrics was, "No one understands me. No one cares. I am an orphan with a darkness. I walk alone. Down pour pain. Dreams are not my own. I walk alone. I walk alone." And Cliff was like, "What?" This is like, he's like confused. And so he starts laughing, and Denise was like, "Why are you laughing?" Like, he's like, "Well, you're doing self-pity basically." And she was like, "Well, my teacher told us that we can't write about fun stuff like sex and politics. So this is what I'm writing about." And so Theo comes in, and Cliff was like, "Oh, did you get Theo to listen?" And Theo was like, yes, I already heard it. I don't want to hear it again." And so she leaves. He asks Theo, like, if he knows about his gift. And so, like, Theo was like, yeah. And so they, like, look both ways to make sure no one's around. And Theo says, "We all chipped in this year to have a really great gift for you. We all pitched in and all that stuff." And then Cliff was like, "What is it?" And they look around again, and Theo says, "I don't even know. They said that they're not going to tell me what the gift is." And Cliff was like, Cliff tells Theo, "You go and demand for that, to find out what that gift is." And Theo was like, they said that you were going to say that. So that wasn't going to happen. So then I guess this is like the next day, and we see all the girls in the kitchen, including Sandra. And they are keeping a lookout for Cliff. And then they hear some sounds coming from the back stairs. Vanessa was manning that entrance. And so they all of a sudden start cooking, and start yelling and saying, "Get that stuff, grab that, all that stuff." But then it's just Theo. And Denise was like, "I thought you said that it was Dad." "I thought so. I heard footsteps." And so then Denise went back to her post, which is manning the bigger, like the main stairs. And all of a sudden, Denise, and also during this time, Theo was like, "What are you guys doing? What is the gift? Is this the gift?" Like, he's just trying to figure out what this is. And all of a sudden, they're like, "Oh, Cliff is coming." And so they do the thing, "Get that, go do it, try this, all that stuff." And Claire goes, and so Cliff sneaks through the door and sees what they're doing, and he goes back to the couch, and Claire notices that he's away from the door, and so she's like, "Stop, guys, we're good." And so she goes and talks to Cliff, and Cliff, she pretends like, "I am disappointed that you found out about this dinner." And Cliff was like, "Yeah, see, this happens all the time. I find out what my surprise is all the time." And he even says, "Let the record show." And I swear this line, "let the record show," comes up so many times throughout the season. Or I just have Claire Huxtable keep saying that in my head. "Let the record show." But Cliff says this, "Let the record show." He found his present ahead of time. So Claire was just not happy. She pretend not happy that, he found out. And Claire says, Cliff is smarter than everyone else. And also, while Cliff starts, walking, he starts doing a crip walk. You know what the Crips do? It was just weird to see that. And we're at the dining room, and everyone is dressed up. Theo is asking what is going on, but no one is telling him what is going on. Claire comes in with Cliff's eyes closed, and she gets him to sit down, and then they were like, "Surprise!" And he opens his eyes, and so then Vanessa goes into the kitchen to get the food, and Sandra asks how Cliff feels at 48. He's never felt better. Sandra says 48 could be a tough age for men. Traditionally, the midlife crisis sets in, because they've reached almost a half century on this earth. It's psychology, and like Denise is like, how, like, why? And so a man, she says, a man looks at half a century has gone by and realizes that he has less than a third of his life left. That's such a downer statement. But I love Sandra. She does a lot of these like how do I explain? Like she talks about the facts, but not in a way that like it's positive. And there's an episode in, I believe, season 3, and she just starts talking about nutrition, and I'm like, damn, girl. Like, and it's because that she's learning this right from her schooling, which makes total sense. You know, when I was in school, I would take things from the class and like reflect it with what's happening in my life. So I understand what she is going through with this fact, but it's just such a downer fact to say on someone's birthday. But I just love Sandra. She's just funny like that. And Cliff makes a face like he's not happy to hear that, and makes a joke saying, maybe you should make some money writing birthday cards. That would be funny, to make birthday cards be like that. That would be a funny thing. And then Vanessa brings over the dinner, and it's pizza. And Theo is happy because, you know, it's pizza. Like, any chance you get, if I see pizza, I'm happy. Like, you know, I don't really care. Like, I'm easy. I don't really like, you know, 7-course meals, all that stuff. I rather have pizza. Like, that is my jam. And Clef is not happy. He's like, I thought there's all these other food that you guys made, and he actually goes and checks the kitchen, and there's nothing there. He's like, I want the food, and Cliff gives him a slice. He throws it back like a little child that he is, and Cliff, like, Claire is telling him, like, you got to eat this because we're about to go somewhere else. And he was like, oh, we're gonna go to the city dump. And Claire is just dying laughing, and I love that. And like, I was looking at like when they're all eating the pizza, and like, you see Rudy's slice, and it's like, not even, it doesn't even look like a real pizza. It's so big, like one slice like that. It's weird that the pizza is like that. And you do remember that there is mushrooms on this pizza, which Cliff hates. So that's probably why he threw the pizza back, because he's like, this is not what I like. And so yeah. So we finish Act 1 and we go into Act 2, and we are at that venue that we originally started the show with. And Theo so at this point, Cliff is he has a bandana over his eyes, so he can't see. He's blindfolded. And so Theo is explaining to him, saying, you know, oh, just wait. I can't wait for you to see this place. It's amazing. And Cliff is like, yeah, right. Because he thinks they're at the city dump, you know. And so they get him to sit down at that table. And Cliff can smell candles. He can hear people. So he's like, you know what? We're probably at a funeral parlor. Such a downer right there. And so Rudy says, wrong, they're not there. And all of a sudden music starts playing, and Cliff is like, where am I? And they say, introducing Lena Horne, and Cliff is so happy. And Claire, at that same time, Claire puts the blindfold down, and you can see Cliff is so happy that he gets to see one of his favorite singers, and he's just surprised. And Lena comes out and talks to the family and saying, you know, how this is her personalized table, and you know that she's wishing Dr. Huxtable a great birthday. At first she says Huxtable. I think Huxtable. They always there's a few episodes where they like can't say the Huxtable. They say like Huckable, you know. And so you know, she talks to them and all that stuff. And Lena was like, I am not singing happy birthday. I'm going to sing you an old song. And because she was like, I'm not singing a new song because, you know, I'd rather sing old songs. Old songs are way better. And so she sings a song. So the song that she's singing is I'm Glad There Is You. So there is a record that of her singing that song. But I found out she is covering the song. She's not the original singer. This song I think came out in 1941. So this is way before Lena Horne. But she did cover the song, and at the end of this podcast, I am going to play the song for you guys so you guys get to listen. And once she's done the song, everyone claps for her. And at the end of the show, we don't get to see the rest of the show, but they go to Lena Horne's dressing room because she did ask that they come to her room. And Claire was like, they didn't, like, we didn't need to do this. Like, the show was good enough. And Clarence Thornhill was like, no, she asked for you guys to come in. And Cliff was like, are you sure that she didn't ask for just me? And he was like, I'm sure. She asked for the whole family. And so they get into the room, and they're about to all sit down. And Claire's like, don't sit down. Don't touch anything. And then right away, Lena Horne comes in, and she tells everyone to sit down. And so Claire's like, sit down. It's like, I swear, I feel like every mother is like that, where like they want you to be like that perfect family. Don't do things, don't do that. And then when someone tells them to do it, then everyone does it. Like, I feel like that's just life. And so, she starts talking to the family, and Cliff was like, thank you, Miss Horne. And Lena was like, how old are you, to Cliff? And he was like, 48. So 48, and you're calling me Miss Horne? Yeah, you don't do that, And so Claire says Lena would be the only woman in the world that Cliff would leave Claire, like, in terms of leaving her in the marriage. And Lena was like, don't worry. If he tried, I would send him back. I love it. And then she talks to Sandra, and Sandra asks how college is. Sandra was like, it's a lot of hard work. And Lena was like, good choice. A good answer. And then she talks to Theo and asks if Cliff gives him any trouble. And Theo was like, yeah, he gives me trouble. And then Vanessa introduces herself and introduces Rudy. And so Lena asks, does she have a boyfriend? She's like, I don't have a boyfriend. And then Rudy was like, what about Leon? So funny. And then Rudy mentions that she's seen Lena on Sesame Street. I remember watching that show as a kid. I really enjoyed the show, I think, until I was like 6. And then after that, there's other shows I liked. And so Lena was on Sesame Street twice, actually. And so Rudy was like, can you get me in contact with, I can't remember what character on Sesame Street, but she wanted to get in contact. And Lena was like, yeah, I might schedule that for you, And then Lena starts talking to Denise, and she asked Denise how old she is, and Denise was like, I'm 16 years old, and said, oh, I wish I could be back at 16 years old. I blew off my 16th year, walking around singing blue funk, feeling sorry for myself. And Cliff was like, oh, you're right on the dot, because literally early in the episode, that's what she was singing, And Lena says, Denise is going to grow out of it. Don't worry. She's filled with a lot of love with this whole family around her. So she will definitely grow out of it. And so then Claire was like, we have to leave. Like, thank you, though. And so they all get up to leave, except for Cliff. Cliff just sits there because, he's in love with Lena Horne. Like, he was planning to leave Claire at some point for Lena Horne, right? So he's in love. He doesn't want to get up. And so Claire has to come and carry him away. And so we get back to the Huxtable residence, and we're in the kitchen, and you see Cliff. He's eating the pizza that was for his birthday, but taking off all the mushrooms off. And so Cliff, was talking about, Lena owns a hotel. And so Cliff was like, for my next birthday, I want you to buy me a whole hotel. And Claire was like, yeah, right. And Cliff mentions, like, Lena Horne kept centering around Cliff during her whole performance. Cliff was like, yeah. Claire was like, no, that's not the case. And the only reason why they were invited to the dressing room was because of Cliff. She just was nice to ask for the whole family to come. False, again. That is not true. And Claire eventually is like, shut up. And I love that. And so Denise comes down, and she comes down and talks to her parents, and said that she changed up the song, and that's why she's still up late. So this is the the lyrics that I don't have the whole thing, but I have some of it. So this is what she said. My mother and my father, you are my best friends. When I am alone, I don't have to be. Because of me that I am all alone, you see. There's love is real. Your love is all mine. I have faith of them all of the time. Best living friends, best living lovers. To the other end, their love is real. Never did they lie to me, talk behind my back, cheat me. Their love is real. Their love is real. And we see Cliff and Claire give Denise a hug. And that is the end of that episode and the end of season 1. Crazy. And so I just want to mention that we had Sabrina back as Sandra. I'm thinking season 2 we're gonna have her as a main cast. We had the legendary Lena Horne. I should say we had the late great Lena Horne on this episode, and we had Clarence Williams III, who has been in Purple Rain, Tales from the Hood, Hoodlum, Life, The Butler. So those are the 3 guest stars that we had on this episode. And I would say that the lesson for this episode is let a surprise be a surprise. I feel like the message of this episode where Cliff has just kept trying to figure out what the surprise was. If you just let it be, you're going to be more happy about it. And so I have a question for you. Have you ever knew that there was going to be a surprise, or you trying to figure out what gift that you're going to get, or anything that it was supposed to be meant as a surprise and the fact that you were trying to figure out what that is? Let me know. I want to hear your stories about times like how if you were similar to Cliff, where you're trying to look for a gift or find out what the surprise is. Let me know using the hashtag last episode at Black TV Shows Pod. This is, as I said, this is the last episode of season 1. I would say that season 1 is not my favorite episode, although what's crazy is there's so many iconic episodes in the season that we always look back at is from this season, which is crazy because a lot of series you don't really think about season 1, because usually season 1 is just like, it's okay, it's not the greatest, and then you get season 2 and that's when it starts getting better. But for the Cosby Show, I understand now why the ratings were so high for season 1 and how it literally revived NBC. But I can't wait to talk about more of the episodes that I really care about. I feel like the episodes in season 1 are more tailored to younger kids, I feel like at times. I guess there's a few episodes, not really, but majority of them were tailored to younger kids. So I would just, in a way, just never enjoyed it as much. So I can't wait to talk about the ones that are more tailored for older kids or like teenagers and all that stuff. So I can't wait to talk about that. So it is Thursday, so it is a Black Show of the Week. And for today, I'm going to talk about Smart Guy. So here is the 2 theme songs, because there was 2. The second one, I think, is including Omar Gooding, who plays Mo. So just take a listen.
Smart. He's a smart guy. Smart guy. Smart guy. He's a smart guy. Every day's another lesson. In my head's in the world. If I make a wrong decision, it's not the end of the world. I will reach my destination. This space for me to be. With each mistake, there's a new lesson. I can be anything you want to be. Never experienced in a dumb phase. Ahead of the game at a young age. The intelligence of a grown man trapped inside of a young brain. Kind of on the short side, but stands tall when you throw the ball. That's why I'm hanging with the smart guy. AKA Mr. Know-It-All.
Smart Guy. There was 3 seasons from 1997 to 1999. It too short, man. They could have, I felt like, done 2 more seasons, and then probably at that point, because like if they did another season, the 4th season would have been him in the 12th grade, and then they could have done a 5th season of him being at university. Of course, that would have been a different cast in a way, because I don't think Mo and Marcus would go to the same university as them, but you never know. So This show is set in Washington, D.C. The show centers around on the misadventures of the boy genius and the youngest kid, T.J. Henderson, who is at the age of 10, moves from elementary school and gets transferred to P-Mod High School, where he ends up becoming high school freshman with teenagers as his classmates. He must adjust to the life with older, but not necessarily wiser high school teenagers, including like his brother Marcus and Marcus's best friend Mo. Episodes typically deal with TJ's missteps of trying to fit in as the kid genius while being a small kid in a high school, as well as the contrast between his smarts and his brother's unachieving nature. Older brother Marcus Henderson, the sophomore and savvy and underachieving middle child, also deals with teenage problems, such as finding a date, doing homework, through which he usually gets help from TJ because, he's a genius. And then there's his father, Floyd Henderson, a widowed single father who owns his own roofing business, deals with the problems of raising his 3 kids, which include Yvette, Marcus, and TJ, since his wife has died. Yvette, who is the older sister of the family, usually is the level-headed member of the family, similar to Floyd in the respects, and is typically overachieving student. So that is a short summary of the series. It is one of my, I feel like, top favorites because the amount of laughter I get from watching it, even to this day, when I watch it, I laugh so much. It is so funny. And so the cast that makes this show so funny is Taj Mowry, who plays TJ Henderson. And, when we're talking about Sister, he is actually the younger brother of Tia and Tamara. So he was able to get his own show, even after his sisters having their own show. And I think it overlapped during Sister time. And then there's Jason Weaver as Marcus Henderson. Jason is actually known for being, I think, Simba for The Lion King, the original one in the 90s, and he still gets money for that. He gets residuals for it, and it's actually a lot of money. So he's still living a good life. There's Essence Atkins, who plays Tasha Yvette Henderson, although we always call her Yvette. And then there's John Marshall Jones as Floyd Henderson. And then we have Omar Gooding as Morris L. Tibbs, and we usually call him Mo. And, Omar Gooding is actually the younger brother of Cuba Gooding. So it's a lot of siblings, it seems like, in this series. And so we have a lot of guest stars. I have to start off with Destiny's Child. And when I'm talking about Destiny's Child, I'm talking about when they were a foursome before Michelle Williams. So it was Beyonce, Kelly, LaToya, and Latavia. And they actually sang No, No, No on the episode. And TJ was in the music video for this one. So you gotta watch it, There's Kayla Pratt, Christina Milian, Naya Rivera, the late greats, Naya Rivera, Kobe Bell, Bianca Lawson again. She's just in everything. It's crazy to think about it. Kenya Moore, Tia and Tamara Mowry, Ashley Tisdale, Gabrielle Union, Shard Jackson, Taraji P. Henson, and Dual Hill. And all these episodes, you're able to watch it on Disney Plus. Make sure to stream it. I tend to watch it, I feel like, twice a year. It's just so funny. In a way, you sometimes learn about the stuff that you would learn in school. I remember when I was in school, I was watching the episode. I was watching the episode when I was learning about like a squared plus b squared equals c squared in math, and literally there was an episode where TJ is like, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And I'm like, I know what that means. I know how to do that formula. I know how to do those calculations. I was like, damn, like you learn a lot. I feel like now they'll be talking about things and I'm like, I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've been in high school. So, but it's just crazy that like they use a lot of stuff that you learn from school. So make sure to stream that show on Disney Plus. It's such a genius show, and I wish it was longer. and I laugh a lot. So the next episode is episode 25, where we are going into season 2, and which was the season that I first got as a DVD when I was a kid. So we're doing season 2, episode 1, first day of school.